Hello and welcome back to another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. Let's check back in with Dr. Heather Exner-Pirot. She is the Senior Fellow and Director of Natural Resources, Energy, and the Environment for the Macdonald Laurier Institute think tank. There's lots to talk about. Welcome back to Boom and Bust.
Yeah, great to be here.
So I guess the first thing, there's a lot of talk about critical minerals, developing critical minerals in Canada, of course. You've said it's good messaging, but bad policy. And I'd like you to expand on that a little bit.
Well, the way we've thought about critical minerals is very broad. So the government has its list of 34, what they decide is critical minerals. And most countries choose it based on basically political strategic reasons, not geologic reasons. But it's a very broad list. And from a policy perspective, how you approach copper or potash or rare earths needs to be dramatically different.
Mm,
So what I was trying to articulate is that we need a nuanced policy approach depending on the commodity and depending on its strategic importance. So I kind of made four categories. I'll go over them quickly here, Tony. One is the ones that we have real market setting power, where Canada is dominant and can really affect global markets. That's potash and uranium.
hmm
Those are very strategic in trade relationships. It's hard to get it from other places, and so we can use that really as an anchor for a lot of trade policy. The next are ones that just make tons of money, and they're global markets, mature markets. They we sell them in the billions of dollars, export net level. The gold, iron ore, nickel, copper, zinc, maybe metallurgical coal. Those ones you just want to be ultra competitive. We want to produce more, we want to export more, we want to earn more from those. So how do we make us very competitive? Then
mm.
there's a category which we've really focused on, and I would, consider battery metals part of those, where they're a smaller market, maybe not quite mature, not quite there, but we do want to be the first mover. When the market moves, when the technology really draws a lot more demand, we want it to be a Canadian project that gets funded first, that comes to production first. And the last is where we really focused is, I would say, security metals that, for example, China
Mm.
could put export restrictions on. Things that will never make us any money, very niche, very small markets, lightly traded, not transparent pricing, but you absolutely need it for example, your defense industrial supply chain.
Well, I really like your analysis because critical minerals has really just become a catchphrase. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
another way of describing minerals. I think what you're doing is providing a list according to capabilities and needs and markets and so on. So I like you doing that. So are we on our way to a good or better policy when it comes to these critical minerals in Canada? Do you think?
So, in my opinion, we're maybe still too over focused on battery minerals. And there was obviously a lot of, kind of maybe irrational exuberance in retrospect about how much lithium or manganese or graphite we might need to supply, the EV supply chain. Those markets haven't really popped yet, but batteries are still a thing. We still are going to do more batteries for many things. So, I think at some point, the market will improve for that. On the defense side, we really have been focusing appropriately, I think. NATO has developed its own list, but very small niche ones like gallium, germanium, I'd say antimony, scandium, things that Canada could supply, could be that one, member of NATO that does have some of that supply that could ramp up. And so, how do we either give equity or price floors or stockpile? Which one of the tools, to make sure that, as an alliance, we have a sufficient amount of supply? And the ones I'd still like to see more work done are the things that make us money. We never seem to care too much about what
Yeah.
makes money in this country. And that's where you need export infrastructure. So our ports need to do better, our rail needs to be better, and we need to be more competitive on the regulatory side to really compete in the potash, the uranium, the nickel, the zinc, the copper space.
What's the mood amongst Canadian suppliers in all of these various minerals? Are people starting to be optimistic that we can find our markets?
Well, I mean, some of them are performing exceptionally well. I know your show is called Boom and Bust. We're starting to see some boom finally in some
Yeah.
things. We know that mining has absolutely outperformed on the TSX. They just listed their top performers of the TSXV yesterday. 48 out of 50 were for mining. So gold has popped. We're obviously competitive on gold. The last six mines to open up greenfield mines in Canada were for gold. Potash is attracting again multi-billion investment from BHP. Uranium is doing well. When the price is healthy, Canada can compete. We have great reserves.
Hmm.
And I think as the commodity cycle moves ahead, you'll see that more commodities become more competitive in Canada too.
Heather, we're going to take a brief break. We've got some commercials to run. We'll be right back with you after these messages.